So you have to understand what my beliefs are. So I
Right.
believe that when you go on a voyage, okay, when you start sailing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so you have to when you start sailing, you have to break the bridge from where
Right.
you have climbed on that, okay,
Right.
so that there is no way back. There is only
Mm.
way is to complete that voyage.
Right.
So there is no way back of turning around.
Hi, hello, namaste to all my listeners. I'm your host, Sarthak Varshney, and I welcome you all to the Balls of Steel show, where you get an insight into the business mindset of the entrepreneurs. Dhandho Ni Soch. Our today's guest is Mr. Siddharth Bothra. Hi, Siddharth.
Hi Sarthak, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? I'm happy that, after probably one failed attempt,
Yeah,
we are again back here on the recording session.
absolutely.
So, Siddharth, let me ask you the question. What is the business that you are into because of which we're going to say that you've got the balls of steel?
Okay, so the balls of steel, when you say it was very relevant because we are doing something which is related with steel,
Okay.
the raw material which we are into international business of sourcing raw material for the metallurgical industry.
Mm-hmm.
So steel is one of the segment that we cater to around the world, not just Indian market.
Mm-hmm.
We cater to the Asian market, American market, European market.
Okay.
So for us, it's there are no boundaries, geographical boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So we are into sourcing of various raw materials from which steel, aluminium, or the foundry materials what you see
Mm-hmm.
is made up of. So we are also catering to the tire industry, paint industry. So there are a whole lot of various segments that we have diversified
Okay.
our company into over the years.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what we do.
Okay. That's quite a huge business, huh, that you're handling.
It's I can't say huge because the ambitions and plans what we have is something
Uh-huh.
different. So still, I can say at least we have begun our journey. So
Okay.
yes.
Okay, okay, I see. Okay. So, Siddharth, why don't you enlighten me with your journey from the very starting point till the current point at which you are? I mean, everything in detail.
Okay. So before I start about how I got into business and how I started the business, what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So it has something to do with my hobby.
Okay,
So I was fascinated. I started collection of stamps.
okay.
It may sound it is part of my journey, So I have to tell you how how this has helped me into getting into my business, into getting understanding my potential and my strengths. So
Mm-hmm.
when I in 1995, when I was 13, basically,
Okay.
and I started with the hobby of stamp collection.
Mm-hmm.
So that took me. I formed an organization that time
Mm-hmm.
as a 13-year-old. Getting all the philatelists. So people who collect stamps are called
Okay.
philatelists. So I used to interact with a whole lot of, you have heard of pen friends when where you
Yes.
yes. So during that time, I used to write exchange stamp with the people in different countries.
Oh.
So that's how we get stamps, from different countries and collect it. And it was fascinating. So I started with that,
Mm-hmm.
but that turned out to be a platform for me because that got me connected with people from different aspects, from political to social to bureaucratic to different segments of people. I got connected because of philately,
Okay.
because I started with organizing exhibitions, getting souvenirs.
Uh-huh.
So when you have to do that, you have to call a couple of people. So I will share with you one of the incident, the very first incident
Mm-hmm.
that happened that got me connected to one of a very very senior politician and minister at that point of time
Oh.
in government of Rajasthan. And I just, as a 13-year-old, I just called him up and I said, okay, we are doing some stamp exhibition and I would like to have you as chief guest for that function. And he said, what is the stamp collection? What is that?
Uh-huh.
I said, something to do with what you see postal stamp. So there is an exhibition where people, from different aspects of different themes,
Mm-hmm.
which are displayed, and it is a detailed study which is put on display,
Right.
and it has got international recognition where people worldwide international exhibitions and all these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, sounds interesting. So he thought maybe because over the phone
Mm-hmm.
I sound really mature,
Okay.
and he accepted my invitation over a call. And I was surprised, and he said, yes, I'll come.
Okay.
And that was the first thing that made me realize that my convincing skills.
Mm-hmm.
I have got something that I can convince people.
Okay.
Then that made me over those, after those exhibitions and all that, a successful event what I planned,
Mm-hmm.
and that gave me courage of going ahead and meeting people from various segments, from government department people to politicians to bureaucrats, and it helped me understanding my strengths, what my strengths actually lies in.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the turning point, I can say. Collection of stamp
Mm-hmm.
have taken me to a different level where I have developed connection with people. I have networked. It made me realize that my PR skills were really good. That is my strength,
Mm-hmm.
and I maintained relationship with those people whom I got connected.
Right.
And I've always followed one thing from, because I'm born in a business family
Right.
and I was fortunate enough to be born in that. And I saw all these things happening around me. And, I have observed a whole lot of
Right.
things. There was no one to teach me. I have not gone and learned something. I have observed people and learned.
Okay.
So people around me have made me stronger and made me realize that there are things, if you do it in a certain manner, and it really works.
Right.
And the value what I have seen, the value system that you get from your family,
Right.
from my grandfather, and you know because we I have my upbringing have been in a joint family. So I have realized that all these things really plays an important role in your life. We don't realize it at that point of time being a child, but it definitely plays very important role in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that turned me into getting connected with people, interacting with people. I have built in that confidence that I can move in 1,000 people, no matter what position the person is holding or whoever it is. I'll go with that confidence, and I can talk to. As a child, I have gone and spoken with them from anything and everything what
Okay.
would interest them. So I
Mm-hmm.
could gauge what conversation or what kind of topic going to be of interest to them. So
Mm-hmm.
that was another strength what I realized, and that was philately. Because of that, I could realize all of this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's really great. And then after that, how did everything happen?
So after that, so when I started with stamps, so I went for some conference when I was 14-year-old, and I went for a conference, and it was a big thing for me to be allowed to be traveling alone,
Mm-hmm.
in some part of the country.
Mm.
You can understand, as a kid, we were never allowed, right?
Yes.
Because your upbringing is happening in a protected environment where you can't be entrusted to go alone, all alone.
Mm.
It's not what we are seeing today, what we allow our kids today, right?
Right.
At that point of time, it was something different way back. And I was allowed to go in a conference, and I met someone who was there uh, as a trader for stamps and all those things. So I was just talking to him, and he said, "Okay, can you get me some stamps? I'm doing trading of this." And I said, "Sounds interesting. I can do something on that." So I had many pen friends,
Mm.
and when I came back from that conference,
Mm.
and I got in touch with one of the consulates, Australian consulate, and they got me connected because when I approached Australian consulate at that point of time,
Mm.
they said, "I think you're joking. There can't be any business which can be of stamps." I said, "There is. You need to verify this, and if you can get me connected, I'm in." And they thought that it's a kind of joke, or maybe I'm immature to approach them for something like
Right.
this. And after 1.5 month, they got back to me and they said, "You were right. there is a business called stamps, and that is getting imported from there, but no one else have done that in India, and you are the first person who have approached us for this, and we are very happy that we can connect you with one of the dealers in Australia who can export you stamps. I said, sounds good. And they exported me first lot of stamps, and then I traded my first business I did at the age of, you can say, 14. I started my first business
Huh.
of stamps, sold those stamps to someone in Orissa, some trader. I supplied him with various accessories which I used,
Mm-hmm.
like magnifier, and there were brands of Liu Magni and all that from UK, and Twizzlers. And I thought it's a business. And I was really happy
Mm.
doing my first business. And when I called that guy up and he said, okay, fine, I'm ready to pay you 50% advance and 50% I'll pay you once I get the material.
Okay.
I was very, very happy, as a child, doing something which you think that you have achieved something really great.
Yes.
It gives you a kick, right?
Right.
So I started with that and I supplied them, and the margins were really good. And I couldn't believe myself. And I was like, wow, I could do some business and it seems to be great. And I supplied, trusting that guy's word. I supplied him with the 50%, he transferred the payment. I sent him those material what he ordered.
Right.
And after that, that person disappeared. He paid me 50%
Mm-hmm.
advance, and 50% was nowhere to be seen. And I was like, I'm calling that landline number because during that time there were
Right.
no mobile.
Right.
So I was trying the landline number and I couldn't reach that person. And there was no way I could find him. But again, that 50% what I got, that covered my entire cost of what I bought because the margins were such.
Okay.
So I was still not at loss, but it taught me a very important lesson in life,
Right.
that when you're doing business, everything that seems rosy is not rosy, and you have to understand that you have to understand the facts. You have to understand that you cannot trust people blindly. You have to do business, and when you're doing business, do business with terms where you are completely secure.
Right.
So that was an important lesson that I have learned with that incident. But I don't have any complaints about that, because that was my first business as a child. But that
Mm-hmm.
gave me a whole lot of insights as to how you have to deal, how you have to set your certain principles of doing business
Mm.
when you're doing it. As a child, you are immature, and
Right.
definitely you are. But with experiences, and I was fortunate enough to get this experience for such a small deal. It was not something big where I'm gonna lose. I was covered completely,
Mm.
but still, it taught me an important lesson, and that lesson I have never forgotten in my life.
Right.
So I think that was the thing that happened with this.
Okay.
And after that, I did it for a couple of years. That business, for a couple of years, it went on. I kept on getting the first national issue, or it's something called as commemorative stamp.
Right.
So that got me an opportunity to meet then very senior communication minister in Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji's government, Sushma Swaraj.
Okay.
So Sushma Swaraj ji, I met her in 1998, and that time too I was a kid, 15-year-old,
My goodness.
and I went to her with a proposal, and she gave me time to meet. I got like she gave me 5 minutes,
Okay.
but ended up talking to me for 30 minutes in the conversation. And I was fortunate enough that she accepted my proposal, because it is a big deal that when you are proposing some stamp, and as a child you go, people think that maybe you're a bit immature, or you're talking in air.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like this works. But government of India have approved one of my proposals for issuance of stamp on one of the personalities, and that came through, and I organized a very big stamp release function. It was a big deal, and after that, it is like I understood that how things work, because after from that moment, from, you can say, 14 years to till now, I have been meeting so many people. I have understood how things work, and what to trust, what to not to trust.
Mm-hmm.
All those things, it has really been very insightful for me, and it really helped me building up my confidence, of, there are things, if you definitely want it, it happens. It is not that whether you are a child or you are 13-year-old, you are 20-year-old, or you are 60-year-old, but if you have that conviction about anything and you have that confidence to convince people, things does materialize.
Okay, my goodness, I can't. Like, it's really hard for me to digest what you're telling me right now at the age of 13, 14, meeting these politicians, getting all these things done. I mean, I literally cannot digest this as of now.
No, I'm not surprised because no one, at that point of time, no one could understand
Huh,
that everyone thought, I'll tell you something,
huh,
because I was not really good in studies. My focus was never studies.
okay,
As such, it was like something academically, you have to do it because that was a norm, right? You
right.
can't leave study. I was just doing that, but I used to dedicate a whole lot of time running around to organize these events, meeting people, and everyone thought, is he stupid? He's not focusing on his studies and he's wasting his time meeting some politicians and some bureaucrats and some IS, IPS officers. What is he doing?
Mm-hmm,
And no one could gauge that, when I always have something in my mind that if I do something, it is not with an agenda, but it is with a vision.
mm-hmm,
You know, I always had a vision that I will always. I was passionate about maintaining relationship with people who are renowned, who are known in public life, because you get to learn a whole lot of things. You come across
yes,
a whole lot of people because they have people coming from different sphere of life, right?
right.
And with different problems. And I was fortunate enough that they trusted me, they considered me. Even as a child, they gave me an opportunity to meet them and spend time with them. And, till today, to the people I've met when I was 13, 14, or 15, when I started meeting them, I have developed such close family ties with them now. And no one could believe that this could happen.
Right.
I'm not surprised when you said that, you can't believe this. So after that, there was no looking back. I have met, maybe the chief ministers, the governors, to central government ministers, every damn person I've met from different states, central government, and I was fortunate. Yeah, that's what I can say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. So, how keep the story going on? I mean, I want to know the complete story. It's sounding very interesting as of now.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'll tell you my first actual business, what I did when I was in 17-year-old in my 11th standard. And because I used to stay in Bikaner, that's my native place.
Okay,
And then we shifted because our family business, we were expanding, and one of the businesses we started in Jodhpur. So
okay,
for 2 years, with my parents, I shifted down to Jodhpur for 2 years,
okay.
and we started. My dad started. It was a joint family business. We started in Jodhpur
Mm-hmm.
as a diversification thing, and we were doing something with tea and oils, bulk business out there.
Okay.
And we, at that point of time, we had some bottling plant there in Bikaner.
Mm.
Like how you have the bottles for like Pepsi and Coke, those PET bottles,
Right,
right?
right.
That plant we had. So I was just sitting and I thought, because I never liked to sit idle. So I thought there's not much of studies what I can, it's, you just have to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, let me do some business with this because we have got bottling plant there. We have got oil bulk business here with tankers and everything. So I thought of starting packaged oil, that point of time, it was something that people have not heard of, packaged oil in 1 liter and 5 liter bottles and all of that.
Okay.
So I started sourcing because bottling was our own,
Mm-hmm.
oil was again our own because we were selling that in bulk.
Right.
And I used to buy it from my dad. Oil, I used to buy bottles from our own family plant in Bikaner. I used to get it packed and sell it with my brand name. So in 11th standard, when I was 17-year-old, I have roamed around to the rural areas of Rajasthan, closest to Jodhpur. I created a distributorship network
Mm-hmm.
and started selling, with a Bicano, the brand name what I've developed. I started selling oil at that point of time. and that business continued for 2 years, and it was actually I could scale that business up. But again, after 2 years, we had to shift back to Bikaner, and everyone said that now you're in college, you should now focus back to your studies and all of that. So this happened, and that was my second business after stamps, you can say.
Okay.
The oil business as a 17-year-old. Yeah.
Okay. And नंबर कैसे आए थे आपके 12वीं में?
No, no, I passed. I have always passed.
Just
So
passed or
I would
passed?
say I see. My agenda was to get 36%. That was the passing percentage, right? But I used to get like 45, 50, 55, something like that. I don't know how because I used to open my books just before the exam day and used to study and do that. So there was an interesting, one more incident that
Please tell
happened.
me.
So there was something during my stay in Jodhpur. So I thought of becoming an editor for doing something because I used to communicate with. I thought this can be something for stamp collectors directory.
Right.
So I went on to release one stamp collectors directory, which I've worked on for a year's time. Communicated with thousands of people. I got in touch with them, writing letters to them, and they would respond back to me. And I compiled all of that data and became the youngest editor at that point of time. And that directory that time was released by the Chief Justice of Rajasthan because there was a big state level exhibition which was happening in Jodhpur by government of India, and they allowed me that the directory be released in that function. So it was again an achievement at that point of time
Wow.
as a kid, in becoming an youngest editor of an stamp collectors directory. Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yes. So this is how. After that, I went on to do my first year. So I wanted to go out for my studies.
Yeah.
So to complete my first year, I went to Chennai and took admission in some college, and I hated
What
that
college was it?
because I went to Chennai to study.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe because there was a my maternal family, uncle, and all used to stay there,
Right.
and my cousin was very close to me. I thought maybe I can enjoy their college life. So I went there, and in 1 month, maybe I have taken admission, and I stayed in Chennai for 1 month, but I never went to college after first day because I went there and I realized, my God, this is like a school and where you have to wear uniform, where you have exams every week. I said that was not my agenda my agenda was to enjoy college life, not to get into school. Coming back, completing school, and again taking the admission in school. I left Chennai in 1 month. I called my dad. I said, I can't stay here. I need to come back. And I went back to Bikaner, took admission in because college, it was again, we were trustees in that college.
Okay.
So it was not a problem for us to get an admission,
Okay.
in
Yeah.
mid. And I went, I took admission there. I never went to college there because that was not something on my books. And in the second year, after completing my first year, there was a break which was there.
Right.
So that was the incident because of which I'm in Bombay today because it was never planned. It was destiny that got me here.
Okay.
So I was supposed to go to meet my maternal uncles and all that in Chennai and my cousin,
Hmm.
and I boarded a train from here. From I came to Bombay. I thought I will go via Bombay because there were no tickets at that point of time available through Delhi. So I came to Bombay. I thought I have never been to Bombay. I was never fascinated about Bombay,
Okay.
but I thought let me go via Bombay because the travel agent told me you can get ticket via Bombay. You can go to Bombay and then go to Chennai.
Okay.
I said sounds good to me. I came here, stayed here for a couple of days, 1 or 2 days, and then I boarded the train for Chennai.
Okay.
And this incident changed the whole thing. So I boarded the train. As I sat, and there were, because I'm a vegetarian, and with that, the food smell and all of that, and you know how AC compartments with the closed thing, your food smell travels,
Right.
right? As the train started, and there was something that irritated me, that kind of food, and it was just 1 hour of the train started, and it was somewhere close to Bombay. The area called as Panvel.
Right.
Okay, I wasn't aware what was that. I just got down there. I said I can't travel, and I got down and I came back. I called my cousins whom I was staying with,
Uh-huh.
and I came up here and I said, I can't go. I'm coming. Just tell me the way to reach you back in Bombay
Mhm.
because I'm somewhere 1 hour away, and I don't know. There's some place called as Panvel or something like that.
Mhm.
They said, okay, you come. And then I came here. I stayed here with my cousins, and I stayed here for. I was supposed to go back in 2 days. I stayed here for 10, 12 days, and I really enjoyed it out here. I said, wow, I need to stay here. So after 10 days, I went back to my native, and the moment I reached there, I told my dad, I want to study in Bombay. He said, you're in second year. How are you going to get admission? I said, doesn't matter. We can find a way to get admission there.
Mhm.
And I was fortunate enough that I went back, and again in a week's time, I came back to Bombay. And well, in Bombay, that time colleges have already started. It was month of July,
Right.
but again, I managed to get an admission in Sydenham College, and I was good with this college life, and that was the destiny that set me that this is the place I want to be
Mhm.
in. So that's how I stayed till today. Now it's more than what 20 years I'm in Bombay, and I finished my college in 2003. So in 2002, I thought with my college I can learn, instead of wasting time, because that was always the thing. I always thought, of utilizing time in a better way.
Mhm.
So I went on to learn diamond assortment. I thought diamond business looks glamorous, so I should be in diamond business. So I tried to learn diamonds. In 3 months, I was like, my God, this is not something I want to do. This is, sitting at one place and taking some magnifier and just keep looking at diamonds. I was like, because I'm the person who can roam around, interact with a whole lot of people, but can't sit at one place and just keep looking at that diamond inside. What is the impurity in that?
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So I left that in 3 months' time,
Okay.
and I finished my college. And after 2003, the moment I finished my college, I got into the real business. I started my first business, actual business, what you can say, which is still there.
Mhm.
So that journey of my actual business started then in 2003, end of
Okay.
2003.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2003, then I was just thinking of, doing something, because I always had that one thing in my mind that if I want to do something, I have to do it from scratch. I
Right.
don't want to take a single penny from my dad.
Right.
And that was the promise I always made to myself that, if I ever would do anything,
Mhm.
that would be always completely based on me, on my credentials, not a single penny finance from anyone, from my dad to any of my family member.
Mhm.
So I was thinking what I can do, how you can do something, how you can start a business without money.
Right.
So that was a big challenge for me. And then I met one of the persons I knew back then in my native place, and he was manufacturing something which was for the textile industry.
Mhm.
And I told him that, okay, fine, I want to do something in Bombay. So what your manufacturing can tell me where it is used. And he said it is used in textile industry.
Mhm.
I said, okay, that sounds good. So I asked him where in textile. So I thought Bombay that time it was a textile hub,
Okay.
and textile industry started shifting out from Bombay, but all the offices were headquartered in
Right.
Bombay. Right, the big plants like Moffat and all Pantaloons, those brands were existing.
Right. Right.
Those were
Right.
big brands at that point of time. So I thought it sounds good, and I approached that person. He provided with me samples. I visited. So my first business, what I started,
Mhm.
so it was with capital investment of zero, with no investment. I started the business because I told him I'll pay you when I get the payment from them. When I sell this,
Mhm.
I take it from you and I will pay you when I get payment. And he said, okay, doesn't matter. And I started going and exploring all different markets.
Mm-hmm.
So I took 50,000. That's the amount I took from my dad to stay alive in Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
After finishing my college, I said, give me 50,000 because I want to pay for my paying guest accommodation. I want to open a bank account which required 10,000 rupees as the minimum balance
Mm-hmm.
for my current account to get my stationery and all those things printed. And that is 50,000 is the total amount I took from my dad, and not a single penny after that. And that too, not for business. That was just for my initial 1 or 2 months for my survival and to pay off the rents of my paying guest accommodation
Mm-hmm.
and my food and, opening a bank account.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how it all started. And started with the textile industry, and then I traveled aggressively in Surat and other textile markets wherever the big plants were there, because I always wanted to deal with corporates and the big plants
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to do business. That always fascinated me.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with that. So it was good.
Okay, but tell me, like, still, tell me the complete story. You took that 50,000 rupees and you told that person that you'll give him the money once you get the payment from the client. How did that really work out? Because that was the first thing completely on your own feet. So, what was that feeling and what was that period like for you? Give me more details about it.
Oh, it was very, very challenging time for me, and it was, I was never used to using public transport
Right.
in my life.
Okay.
I mean, before that,
Right.
before coming to Bombay, because when you are born in a family where these things doesn't
Mm-hmm.
exist, right, in a business family. So it was something different for me coming to Bombay, traveling by local train and bus and all of that. But I learned it quickly, and I said to myself that if I have to do something on my own, because it was very easy for me to settle down in my native, or take money from my dad and start something.
Mm-hmm.
It was very easy. But when you have to start something from scratch, it is very difficult, because you are doing something where you don't know people. There is no one to tell you what is right, what is wrong. You go completely based on your conviction.
Right.
And that really was an experience for me, because that initial 1 or 2 months, and I could see that I could generate some business, and that was
Mm-hmm.
giving me a kick, that on my own. And it was not comfortable stay wise, it was not comfortable any which ways, but it was giving me a kick, because I said to myself, because I don't have any option to go back, you know I have to perform, because that's what the promise I have made to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I have stick to that. And it took me a couple of months to establish myself for the textile, so that at least I have that rotation of money to survive in place like Bombay, and no one asks me to come back, or if I have to ask money from my dad.
Right.
It, that way, it worked really well. And I think in 1 year's time I could do fairly good business, that I've came into a comfortable situation where survival was not a question for me.
Wow.
Yes, survival was not a question, because I could meet my expenses and I could save something at that point of time. And then I thought, maybe it is not giving me that kind of kick what I always wanted, to do something big.
Mm-hmm.
So but because I never trust on one thing, I keep working on multiple things at a time, because if one thing is not working, at least you have revenues coming from the second business or third business, or whatever, wherever you have diversified.
Right.
So I was working, I met someone, and he told me that, why don't you try with aluminium industries? They use something like this. And I said, wow, sounds good. So I worked backwards, and I found a contact who could supply me something from, Rajasthan, and they had mining and all of that. And I contacted them and I told them the same thing. I don't have money, I can sell, but I can pay you when I get the payment. And they agreed. They said, okay, we trust you. We will start small. But I said, I don't mind. And I used to keep sending mails to a whole lot of corporates in India.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly one day I got reply from one of the very senior person from that corporate, and he said, he feel that our company is really professional, and he would like to set up a meeting with me, and he would like me to visit their plant. I said, okay, I can travel down, and I traveled down, and that was the first corporate account what we got. That is one of the biggest renowned group in India. Way back in 2004, that was the first corporate account and bulk business I started with one of the commodities used by them. And it was a game changer for a couple of years. Once you enter, and the way you develop relationship, people trust you, people trust your words. And that's how you keep adding on and diversifying on different commodities and different materials. This is how you pick once you enter, how you pick things up,
Mm-hmm.
how you connect dots.
Mm-hmm.
If you're good at connecting dots, there is no looking back, I'm sure. And everyone is good at connecting dots. They just need to realize the potential, and to see, need to have that kind of vision, you know, how you can do from this to this to this. And it all, maybe it's a destiny, but again, you have to put efforts. Destiny, if you just sit and, think that it is, I'm destined to become successful, or I'm destined to become a millionaire or a billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be. For that, you have to put in effort, and then destiny definitely plays a role.
Okay, so that was the point at which your current business really started, the mineral.
No, it is not just that business, but it was, there were a whole lot of ups and downs after that too.
Right.
It is not just,
Mm.
but again, it is, there is, if you know, there is a famous saying that says the tallest oak in the forest was once just a little nut
Yes.
that held it down,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It is something to do with that. You have to be very, very sure. Whenever you want to start something, you need to have that kind of conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just if I have seen, I've seen one video where a person, there is a big stone which is lying, okay, and that person is hammering that stone in the middle,
Right.
and everyone thinks that he's a fool. It's such a big stone, and he's just hitting, 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 and how it can break.
Right.
But everyone was taken up by surprise that in after couple of hours, because he didn't leave hitting that stone where he was hitting at that point,
Uh,
and that stone break. It broke, and the moment that stone broke, so this is something you need to understand, that when you keep, if you have that conviction that this is possible, and you are convinced, don't don't bother about people, and just keep hitting at what you were convinced with. And
right.
success is definitely, find success, it's something to do with that.
Okay. Okay. So that, I mean, you already mentioned so many things. You already mentioned that your textile business is there, your IQ Group minerals business is there. What other businesses are there? Tell me.
Oh, so there are many businesses I've done. It's not just that.
Huh?
So, and, as a part of diversification, that point of time. So, in 2000, and if I'm not wrong, it was 2005 where I got involved in metals business. When I was dealing with that corporate house, and I got to know that they need few metals which is important for them, and I started working, because a couple of years back then I went to China to visit some exhibition,
Okay.
and I interacted with a whole lot of people there, and I could understand, and I developed, people I used to converse with, and I thought maybe these Chinese people. It was a big problem back then in 2003 and four when I visited there. Language was a big
Mm-hmm.
barrier. You can't communicate with them. They won't understand English, and you need to understand Chinese. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a big communication gap that used to happen. But again, that helped me develop good relationships, which I developed. I kept interacting with people, whether I had business with them or not, but that helped me understand that how these people work. And then I developed that kind of working strategies to work with them, and I could make it happen. Many businesses in metals at that point of time, and I started doing metal business. And then there was a point which came that I felt that this is not just enough for me.
Right.
This is not okay. And I thought maybe I need to diversify and add on one more business. And I came across someone who said that, the malls culture wasn't there in India at that point of time in
Hmm.
2006 or by end in six. And somebody was normally discussing with me that, there are brands which take spaces in malls if there are malls which are coming or multiplexes which are opening.
Right.
So I thought there are hardly any multiplexes. There is just one mall in Bombay which was called
Right.
Crossroads. And I thought, so I approached one person, which was Z Group, Fun Republic.
Right.
Okay. So they were thinking of expanding at that point of time, and they said, okay, we are looking for expanding our multiplex business across India, and if you can help us getting some sites. So I said, sites? What do you mean by
Hmm.
sites? So he explained to me, he said, site means we want space if there are any malls which are coming
Hmm.
anywhere. Yeah, we would like to expand.
Hmm.
I said, okay, let me try to explore. So I started, understanding the business of retail leasing with mall management that I started in 2005, mid to 2006. And that was again a turning point where I added on a really, really successful business I ventured on. It was a diversification. I never left my primary business. That kept on going as it was. But I added on one more business segment to IQ Group,
Okay.
and in a couple of years we could really, because of the relationships I have shared with or I have developed with people with different multiplexes brands, with different retailers, from Shoppers Stop to Lifestyle to different brands, international, national and international brands. That time I have done projects in close to 35 cities across India from 2005 till 2011, and I continued till then for, you can say, for 6 7 years. And I used to travel like crazily. Every day I was in some city or the other. So 5 days a week I used to travel, and I have definitely gained is the relationship with the people in the construction business, the builders in India, across India, and with the biggest companies, construction companies in India to biggest brands in India. And it was again a big learning experience that how whole of this retail segment works. And it was again, I was, because that was something, I have always enjoyed traveling and interacting with people. And it was really successful.
Right.
And I from 2006 till 2011 I was doing that. And by the time 2009 8, by the mid of 2008, again the same feeling of, you want something more.
Right.
So then the what my primary business was there, again I thought maybe, I can add a couple of more segments to this
Right.
and increase the offering of raw materials what I'm doing. And I added on a couple of industries, and it was really something that worked out in my favor. And that from that till now I'm still continuing with the same segments, and I kept on adding different kind of materials, niche markets. And we were not limited to India. Now we are doing the Asian markets, European markets, and the American markets. So you can imagine a journey from 50,000 rupees, which was not even the business investment, to now we are doing, you can say, sales of more than 500 crores, or for our distributorship sales of 500 crores that we have achieved. So it was something that I look back, but it's a starting point, as I say, because my goals and my ambitions are still much bigger.
Oh, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so enthralled, highly inspired, and whatnot with whatever you have told me in the past 45 minutes, Siddharth. I mean, this this journey sounds so good. But there's so much more that I would want to learn from you right now when we're talking about the mindset and everything. So,
See, everyone has got a story and everyone has got their share of struggles.
right.
But I would say that, I was fortunate enough, and with God willing, whatever is small I could achieve till today, whatever is small, whatever in terms of success, I don't consider it to be highly successful. I consider myself that okay, I could still survive and I could make ends meet, and I'm going in a direction where I want to go, where I can the dream of making a $1 billion company. I one day I'm able to fulfill that.
Okay. Okay, since we're talking about the billion-dollar company and the goals of, becoming a unicorn, why don't you also tell me, it's pretty evident, but I still wanna take it as a confirmation note from your side. Your company is completely bootstrapped, self-built, and no investor as of now, right?
Nothing, nothing,
Oh my
nothing.
God.
So I am the single person who's heading this. I'm the CEO for IQ Group, and we have got multiple companies under IQ Group
Right,
and different segments from minerals, metals to ores to chemicals to green energy. What we are working on, so they are different, and now we are working on something which is innovative. Innovation is, I feel, renewable energy and innovation. So now this is a time when I'm again starting to feel the urge of doing something more. So we are moving towards green energy and working on international projects in India, which are very very innovative green solutions, of
right,
green energy, and we are working on innovation. So that is something I'm highly inclined towards, of developing something where I can get innovations around the world, s- across the people. They can have access to innovative products, not just in India, and we can invest money, because now we can't invest in a big way, but we can still, the strategy, or I would say the interest would be to take stakes in those companies which doesn't have access to finances,
hmm
and where I feel potential is there for those innovations to come alive.
So,
So that is again another focus area now
so
of going
now
ahead.
the entrepreneur is looking to invest, become an investor.
So I was always an investor. I've invested on relationships, I've invested on people, I've invested
Uh,
on everything. So this is life, right?
right.
You have to take risk, and if you're afraid of flying, right,
Mhm.
you will never be able to fly because you will think that you will fall.
Right.
So it's something like, don't be afraid to fly and just go. And if you fall, just be sure that you're going to bounce back, maybe much higher than from where you have fallen.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. And Siddharth, if I'm right, you haven't done anything in your masters. You just been working, working, working. पढ़ाई तो वैसे ही नहीं करी कॉलेज में.
No, no, no. That is another story. So when I got married, because
हाँ.
in 2011, because I have not done anything in a conventional way.
Right.
Being from a Marwadi family, again, you have certain set of norms which are followed by everyone.
Right.
And being part of the joint family, you have some benchmarks that you have to follow, right?
Right.
So I have never done anything of that sort. I have made my own rules and I have not followed anything. So I went on and got married from the girl whom I met in
Oh.
college. And yes, it was a love marriage, being a Marwari and a Maharashtrian thing, It was a big, but now it doesn't exist. But that way back then, because there was no one, my parents was the biggest support system which existed for me.
Mm.
They never said no when I wanted to start with philately, to travel for philately, to meet people for philately, to the girl I wanted to get married to, the place I wanted to settle. So they were the biggest support system. And every single credit of whatever little I have achieved goes to them. And whatever I am, it's just because of them.
Right.
And because of the value system what I have got from my grandfather, and I've seen him, that when you are giving back to the society, that is something very very important in your life.
Mm.
That no matter what you earn, but always give certain percentage of that to the back, give back to the
Right,
society. You know, so the only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth you have given away.
right.
So if you remember this, no matter what, you should just go and give whatever you earn, give a certain percentage to people without expecting anything. But remember that when you do good deeds, nothing bad can happen to you.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I very strongly believe in this, so very understandable. Okay, Siddharth. So that's quite a journey, I would say.
But once you will be feeling that success is, it's just the tip of the iceberg. In reality, it is so much of hard work,
Mm, mm,
persistence, late nights, rejections, sacrifices that you make. You have to be that disciplined, the criticism that people have,
mm.
the doubts, the failures, the risk. It is, there are everything, it is part of that, but no one sees that, right?
Right.
Everyone talks about it, that it's too easy to be successful and create something of your own, whether in your professional life, whether in your business or anywhere. But it's not easy, there are a whole lot of sacrifice, and everyone, I feel, whoever have whoever have achieved professionally or in business have so much to tell you as a story, because they have gone through everything what I have, or what you have, or what anyone else has.
Definitely,
It's
definitely. That's very, very. This is just one word, understandable and relatable. So yes, absolutely right. I can't just disagree to it at any point. It's all very agreeable. Okay, so before we get to
right.
the more struggleful part and all those things, right? Let's start from the very beginning of the journey, and then let's start talking about the building of your Dhandho Ni Soch and the business mindset. Because first thing first, you come from a Marwadi family. Dhanda आपके खून में है, I would say. Right. Okay.
Danda Khun mein, see, I'll tell you,
Right.
it is not just Marwadi family.
Uh,
I would like to comment on
okay.
that. People tell me that you're born in Marwadi family, so it comes in your blood.
Right.
I would say that in Indians as such,
Okay.
everyone has got that Dhandhe ka soch. People have got that in you. If you see the entrepreneurship ratio in India, that's highest in the world. No matter people are running a grocery store
Yes.
to people selling vegetables on the road, everyone is doing a business. They have got entrepreneur mind, right?
Right.
That mindset there that
Right.
exists, and because of that is, so I feel this is not limited to any community, or if you're born in a business family or not.
Mhm.
It is just there everywhere in India, and everyone is an entrepreneur, I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, सारी बातें मेरी यहाँ पे बोल दो, मैं बंद करता हूँ show. No, yeah, this is absolutely right, man. This is the very same mindset that we come out with, and that is the reason that we are sitting together, because you know how strongly I believe in this, that irrespective of the business and whatever the business is, this entrepreneurship mindset needs to be nurtured very well. Right. Okay. So starting
Absolutely.
from the very beginning of your journey, Siddharth, right? You, as you mentioned that uh you are a very good observer and you used to observe everything in your family, and your first venture was at the age of 13, which is quite a decent age. So now I would like you to tell me that by the time you were turning 13 and you decided to start this thing of philately, uh, from all the observations that you had from your father, from your grandfather, and the rest of the family, and how they were doing multiple businesses, so what did you really learn and how did it shape your mindset?
Okay, so what I have learned, if you talk about from the people I have observed and the setup,
Yes,
which was in and around,
right,
I could see that the hard work, what it takes to create something, even when we were, I could see our family, the people, my uncles, my dad, and everyone running various plants in a place like Bikaner, and we have got in other cities in India, we have got different
right,
businesses. But I see that the hard work with what it takes, and the kind of honesty, the commitment towards your work, commitment towards the people you deal with. Your word should be valued. That is the most important thing. Whether you make profits or loss, that's a secondary question. Once you commit, you should be able to fulfill the
Hmm.
commitment. you know that is the most important thing, I think. And honesty, that if you are following these things, there is nothing that can stop you. And that's what I feel. What I have believed and what I have observed has helped me in my business.
Okay. Okay, I understand. So now tell me, Siddharth, that you mentioned this, that when you started with philately and you went to the bureaucrats and the Jodhpur minister, he accepted your offer, and the point you realized that yes, you've got some convincing skills. How many?
No, you are not Jodhpur minister. It is government of law. Let me
Oh
correct
yes, I'm
you.
so sorry.
Sushma Swaraj was communication minister, government of
Oh
India.
right,
So central government minister under the prime minister Atal Bihari
right. I'm
Vajpayee.
so sorry.
So she is
Yeah.
communication minister for
Yeah.
India.
So when you understand that you've got some convincing skills, how many times and on what all fronts did you convince your parents for?
Oh, that I never had to convince my parents for anything,
Okay.
because they never said no to anything I've asked for. So that's what I said.
Hmm.
For me, biggest support system that existed for
Hmm.
me, being born in a joint family where there were restrictions, there were reservations, there were concerns on many
Hmm.
fronts, but still, when my dad and mom, they never said no to me for anything. Literally means anything. I have just gone, and whatever I have said, they said yes, even without thinking once about that, or without thinking what kind of implication it will have, or or they are taking a
Hmm.
risk. When I was as a child, I was roaming around. I used to spend a whole lot of time meeting these people, you know and everyone you around, outside, maybe it's not just family people, there are so many people who knows you, and they will say, oh, what he is doing. But they were convinced that if I want to do, and that's what I like to do, so there is no harm. And they never asked me to step back and not put time into all this. They always told me that follow your dreams and follow your passion, and if you like to do certain thing, do it.
Hmm.
They never had any expectation out of me,
Okay.
and they never said no. So that was something, I never had to convince my parents for any damn thing.
Okay. Okay. So on this note, Siddharth, could you please also tell me a bit more about your relationship with your father? Because there's a lot of times you've mentioned a lot of things about him. So I want you to enlighten me more about that relationship.
So I'll tell you, see, for me, getting access to my dad was very limited, because he was busy with his own business, the plants, when I was studying in school.
Hmm.
So it is very interesting, when I was in eighth standard,
Right.
okay, and I felt that I'm getting bored at home, and I felt like I always enjoyed whenever I got an opportunity to visit my plant,
Hmm.
and with my dad being there. And I always loved that environment of laborers, so many laborers running the machineries, and the trucks coming in, material getting manufactured from scratch, from a raw material, and it is getting into a finished product, how the whole process works, how the departments work, and all of that. I was always very fascinated
Right.
to visit our plants as a
Right.
child. So I got this opportunity when I was in eighth standard. I convinced my dad that, from school, I want to come back to the plant. I don't want to go back home. I'll go back home with you.
Okay.
So I have spent, literally from every my tuitions. What used to happen in eighth standard was the tutor used to come to our plant and teach me there
Okay.
for 1.5 hour. So directly from school, I used to go to our plant. I used to spend whole day there, and I used to go back with my dad back home in the night. So just observing and enjoying all of that, that was something I was always fascinated about. And that I was always very, very closely knitted with my family, with my parents. And my emotional connect with my mom was on a way to different level. I
Okay.
was, you know, too much attached with my mom. And but going because I could hardly see my dad. He was busy with the plant thing and work, and I could when I was studying in my initial days, I could only meet him in the night time when he used to come back, because morning I used to be in school and night he used to come back from the plant.
Right.
I could hardly spend that much time with him. But again, it's a joint family, so you spend time with so many people, so many cousins, so many uncles, everyone, somebody or the other is there. So I never felt that. But I really got closer to him when I started, going to the plant and spending time with him and seeing how he's working and what all things he's doing. That really got me closer and interacting. I was inquisitive in knowing things. So it was really great, in helping me develop a different kind of relationship with my dad when he was working. And I, as a child, I'm going to the plant and trying to understand what he is doing.
Hmm. Okay. So, Siddharth, tell me one thing. Did it never really happen? Because, see, even my father's a businessman. So, हमारे साथ क्या होता था? He would kind of force us कि बेटा चलो फैक्ट्री चलो, like when we were really small, ठीक है? He would tell us कि बेटा फैक्ट्री चलो, कि देखो काम कैसे होता है, कैसे नहीं होता है. So it was really opposite with you. Like your parents never.
I always waited for an opportunity
Okay.
to visit our offices and plants and to see how things are working. And I will not sit just inside the office. I would go inside and inspect as to what these laborers in this, in this, how these plants, and we had a big plant.
Okay.
So how things are getting manufactured. It was, when you see those machines, big machines,
Hmm.
and so many people working from a granule to a bag, making complete HDB bags or to bottles
Right.
or to woolen yarns. It was something different experience, and I always loved that kind of setup and that life. That I was waiting that when I'm gonna grow up and I will have some plant of my own. I'd be working on my own plants. That is something in my growth trajectory that I want to do. That to set up a plant
Okay.
that I'm trying for. Again, my hands are still full, but still there is an itch which is
I
there
understand.
for growth.
I understand. Okay, so now I want to know what this one thing that you mentioned that you while doing this philately wala stuff, take it, you organized quite a few events and you were calling all these people. So how did you manage your funds during that time, and how did you manage the legalities, like these funds, the event, the locations, and scouting and everything? How did you do that?
So So again, so this my convincing skills was very useful in raising funds. So whoever our family knew, when I used to go in the industrial area of ours where the
Huh,
plants were there. So in a place like Bikaner, everyone knew us
huh.
because we were one of the oldest business people there,
Okay.
and we were well known in that vicinity. Everyone knew us. For me, it was, but still, I never took my family name anywhere because that was something was there from my childhood when I told you I wanted to start from scratch.
Right.
So even building a relationship with people or making contacts, I never took my family member's name because I knew everyone knows them. And if somebody is doing something because of them, then it is a kind of a favor.
Right.
But I never used it that way. I just went with a cause. I explained it to them. I could sell my idea to them, and they bought that idea. And I could raise funds, and I could for the venues and all. I have always managed to get it for free of cost, convincing them that what kind of advantages they will have and the publicity they will get in the media. And so they could see my from chat. So you can imagine I'm seeing my there used to be the name in the paper was a big thing for people,
Right.
but I was never inclined towards that. But again, when I got involved with the media houses and all that, when I was organizing events, so I could see my name and people used to tell me, oh, I read your name in the newspaper. And then it came like initially it used to give me a kick because that as a 13-year-old it was a big thing. But after that it became like
I-
for zillions of times it came in the newspaper for various events and people coming and then it was not a big thing, and I realized that this is not something that I crave about of having my name anywhere published anywhere.
Mhm.
But what I do, and if people recognize me with that, that is an achievement.
Okay, so मतलब आपके skills इतने अच्छे थे, you literally manage that stuff for free. My goodness. My
Yes, it was a media commitment too because we could get them that their name used to come for the venue,
right.
and there were so many people who would visit that exhibition or event. So I could realize that I was good at event management too. That I single-handedly organize events, but it also gave me a chance. I'll tell you one of the
Yes.
incident because of these events because I was a very shy uh, child.
Uh-huh.
You know, for me to speak in public, I could go and meet individual people,
Right.
but to give speech in front of thousands of people was something I have never done
r-
before as a 13, 14 year old,
Right.
right? And what to speak, standing on that stage. So I once the one big event which I was doing, and I was close to 14-year old,
Right.
and one of the persons I told them, why don't you ask this person to speak for a welcome address, and the person told me that you think that you have to go to people for welcome address. You should not organize events when you don't have capability to speak on your own. And that was the thing. And I said,
Okay.
okay, I don't want anyone to speak. And I just went on the stage and I just spoke the welcome address. And from there on, I never stopped. And I was never hesitant, even if you make me stand to speak in 10,000 people. And I've given speech in front of 10,000 people. And I'm not hesitant because I know I have crossed that stage in my childhood. And I really appreciate the people who criticizes you are the best people because of them, you are what you are today. They give you a
Yes,
push.
yes, yes, yes.
So I don't have complaint. I just appreciate everyone when people criticize me. I really appreciate because when I look back, whoever has criticized are the people because of which I got the push.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So I was just about to ask you this question, but I'll still just add a little flavor to it and still ask you this question. Okay. So when you organized all these events and you learned about so many stuff, now that you're such an amazing entrepreneur, I want you to step back on those days and tell me, organizing all those events and going through all those experiences, what did it add to your entrepreneurial mindset?
So many things. See, so first most important one is
Hmm.
raising funds, right? Is raising funds
Right.
or doing arranging for the capital. So that this is what helped me. If you listen back what I said when I started my business without money, and it was
Right.
something with commitment and with convincing people that my idea, what I sold to them, right, and they bought it. So same way
Hmm.
they could fund it, right? This is another way of funding. When I was getting funds for these events, right? Without having
Right.
anything, I was raising funds for those events. So that taught me how to connect with people, how to convince them, how to raise funds and organize those events. So same way you organize your funds for your business, right? You convince people, you buy material on credit, and how do you convince that? All are
Right.
inter if you see. So it there are definitely takeaways with the public PR, what you call it. PR today is very very important. Maintaining a sound relationship. So the relationships what I learned maintaining because of those events and meeting people, and I've continued with my business, and I'm still, that has really helped me. The PR, the
Right.
fundraising, and all of these things, convincing or selling your ideas. So all these are the things what I've learned from that.
Okay. Okay. I get it. Okay. So now next thing that I want to ask is, at that young age, Dharth, you were meeting so many politicians, right? So many bureaucrats, and these people are at a very high stature, right? And in a normal person's lifestyle, we have to, like, do a lot of efforts to get to them and meet them and probably then learn something from them. So what I want you to tell me, what did it teach you and shape your mindset when you used to meet such high level bureaucrats, and how was it different from what you were learning at your place, at your home?
No, so there was, you have to understand when you go and meet these people.
Hmm.
So you see that they are, when you're sitting with them, you see how they are solving problems, and there are various, big problems and bigger issues which come, right? So it
Right.
is more about bigger national issues or bigger picture, what you're looking at. You're not looking at things at macro level, right?
Hmm.
It is more to do with a detailed thing and a larger picture. So
Hmm.
it gives you that you need to have a vision, which is not something which you have. Like when I said that for me, when I was doing business, I never had that geography thing from initial my first business as a 13-year-old, right? Where I
Right.
imported stamps from Australia. So for me, geography is never really existed. So same way when I see meet these people, I have seen the way they could manage such big issues with that ease, the understanding, the detailed understanding of anything before they could comment on anything. They have a detailed understanding of everything what the subject is all about. And when they have to
Right.
speak, when they speak, if you see, they become such good orator. When they speak on, you can ask them to speak on any issue and they are ready to talk. That is something what you even need in business, right? You are doing business. When you're meeting people, it is not just for how long you can talk to people for business. You will talk to them for various things that you see in and around that is affecting. You need to understand what people are inclined towards listening to you, right? So
Right.
that
Right.
judgment that you from that is really important.
Okay, so that is what you picked up again from these people, that you can talk around any stuff to get your conversation and eventually get your thing done. Am I right?
That interests people. You have to understand. It is not just about conversation. The
Right.
conversation that will interest the other person. That is the most
Definitely.
important thing. And how to
Right.
be politically correct to sustain.
I am gonna refrain from that part because I am politically liberal and not at all into politics. Okay, so now I really can't get into that part. Not a good person who's active politically. So yes, okay. Now that you went to the education part, you went to Bombay, you came to Bikaner, you again went back to Bombay to take the further
I
education.
was telling you about the education part. I forgot to tell you. So it was an interesting
Hmm.
thing that because I always wanted to do my masters and I couldn't because I was in hurry to start business to stay in Bombay.
Right.
So I started my business in 2003. But in 2016, I have joined uh, one of the renowned institutes in Bombay to do pursue my masters in marketing, and that was something for entrepreneurs. And it used to the classes used to happen in the evening. So after my
Hmm.
office hours, I used to go there to complete my masters. So it was a 2 year course, but unfortunately I had to leave in 1 year. I could finish, and then by that time I my wife was expecting the second child, and there was a bed rest which was uh, advice to her. So I had to leave my college, that master's thing in midway, and so that I could take care of my first child and spend time with him.
Oh my God. So you also went for your masters that ways.
Yes, yes. So in fact, when I was studying in
Right.
2000, even with my business when I was doing, I was going to World Trade Institute for my international business that I completed. I was that was a course diploma thing for 1 year, which I completed from World Trade Institute. Even because I was always inclined towards, it was not just about education; it was about polishing yourself and keeping yourself updated and be more professional in your approach when you're doing business. So for me,
Right.
study back then in school was not interesting, but for me, studies is not just studies now, it is more of learning where I can implement that in my business and in my future growth, how I can implement and how I can be more professional.
Right. So you're looking at it as a growth perspective. That's great, yeah. That's
It's
really
not
great.
growth. It makes you more, you become more sorted. You look at
Mm-hmm.
it with a different perspective, and you are more organized. There, it is not about the degree what I'm interested in, or I was interested in. I was
Mm-hmm.
interested in learning. For me, even when I did for 1 year, it was great learning experience for me, and I could implement whole lot of things.
Right. Okay, so on this note, listeners, I would really love to point this out from Siddharth's experience as of now and how he has been picking up education is that he is always looking at how he can be more sorted, add to the growth, and be a better person in terms of business, in terms of normal life, and picking up every experience from different sort of education, even though if it was a smaller one. So that is something that you really need to pick up, and also the importance that he gave towards his masters, and he tried to do that. I would say, okay. So you really need to understand that education might come in any form, but you have to grow and learn at every point in life. That is another reason that several entrepreneurs make it big because they are learning every day. And as we are moving in at a faster world, what needs to be understood is that you need to learn, unlearn, and learn again. That is how the life is changing in the upcoming world. So just keep that in mind. Anything that you would want to add to it, Siddharth?
Yeah, I would say that, you need to understand one thing. So, whenever you see there are bad times, that is something I really believe in. And I
Hmm.
feel that the bad times are the best times for
Right.
work, for anything. It can be work or it can be anything. But bad times are the best teachers, the experience that you get. So, with
Hmm.
the experience, you learn to make better decisions. Till the time you won't make mistakes, right?
Hmm.
You won't
Hmm.
learn. So make mistakes, learn with every mistake, and let that experience shape your decisions, which can be bigger decisions in your life.
Right. Okay. Now coming down to Bombay, Siddharth. Okay. So now you're in Bombay. You are in the mood to start this business of yours, the textile business, and you've asked for the survival money from your father. Now tell me, how was this period for you in terms of, what would go through your head that what if this deal fails? What if this doesn't work the way it should? Right. And you are there just with mere some amount and you have to get through it. How would you tackle yourself? How did you really tackle yourself at that point of time?
So you have to understand what my beliefs are. So I
Right.
believe that when you go on a voyage, okay, when you start sailing,
Hmm. Hmm.
so you have to when you start sailing, you have to break the bridge from where
Right.
you have climbed on that, okay,
Right.
so that there is no way back. There is only
Hmm.
way is to complete that voyage.
Right.
So there is no way back of turning around. So I always have believed that there is no way that you have, if you keep that option of going back, or relying on something, that you have a support system that exists. You
Hmm.
can It is very difficult for you to achieve, because you know that at the back of your mind that you have the support system that exists, and you can always stop or take a u-turn and go back. So I have closed that thing from the very beginning. So I have
Okay.
always realized that if you go with that conviction that if you have to do, there is no way back. You have to keep trying, maybe that thing or the other thing, but there is no way back of going back and saying that I can't do it. So that never
Okay.
existed for me. Yeah.
So you are of the similar mindset that you don't keep options, you kill the options and you make the single option work no matter
Yes.
what.
Yes. If you are convinced, go with that conviction, and then there is no way back. You have to think only there is a way, that is the way front, and you have to
Hmm.
keep going in that direction.
Okay. Now, on this point, that I would also love to know more about the struggle of really growing up because, as you mentioned, that you took that 50,000 rupees from your dad for the initial few months, and within 1 year you were in a comfortable position. So when anyone says that they're in a
No,
comfortable
I was
position,
comfortable. So that money, 50,000, vanished in 2 months, you can say.
right,
You can't survive on that, right?
right,
So
right,
even
right,
not in 2 months, you can say. So I was on literally on my own because that money was to open an account, right? A bank account that is required to and to pay the lease rent for your
right.
one table and chair office space that I have taken that time.
Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah.
Right. So, what I want to know is that this 1 year in which you picked up the growth to be at a comfortable position. Okay. And when anyone says that they are at a comfortable position in Bombay, we can understand that living in a decent place. So, how did the struggle feel like? What was the struggle? Give me more insights. What was
So
that
I would say,
local?
you have
Hmm,
taken the comfortable word in a different manner. What
okay.
I meant comfortable means comfortable living wise, where I don't have to think about another day how I gonna survive,
Okay.
financially, of meeting my needs and having little extra money that is lying in your bank account so that you are okay.
Right.
The lifestyle what you want, because Bombay was always expensive then and
Yes.
expensive today. It was not never an easy thing, for anyone to survive in Bombay. Everything
Right.
was expensive, and you need, no matter how much money you have, it's still
Hmm.
less in Bombay. When you will say, even if you have got $1 million, and still that is less for Bombay. You know, and even if you will say you have a lakh of rupee, and if you're satisfied, it is enough. So that's okay for you. But for people who have got this thing, where they are not satisfied and they have ambitions, so no matter you have a million or you have a billion, it will always be less.
Absolutely. So tell me more about the struggles there. Like, apart from this initial struggle, give me more insight. Give me one example that you remember, one story that you remember, which is very, very close to you.
So I will tell you initial, like when I told you, right,
Hmm.
when I gave you an example of the tallest oak in the forest was once just a
Right.
little that held its ground. So this is why I remember this, because I had an experience when I started my corporate business, first corporate client, and after that when I visited other corporate clients. So one of the
Hmm.
clients I met, and the manager out there told me that, you have taken some trial order, it's okay, but you won't sustain here for very long, because we have people who are doing, 30, 40, 50 crores of business. So this is not
Hmm.
something you would be able to sustain here. You are too small for here to sustain. So I told him the quote I told you today. It's very close to my heart, and I told him the same thing. I said people were small, so the people you are talking who are big were small ones, right? They have become
Hmm.
from smaller to big. No one is born big, right?
Right.
So I told them, no matter what, let it be. Time is the best judge. So if I'm not, meant to do business here, that's okay. But I'm not giving up, and I will keep trying. And that is something that really motivated me, when people tell you, and then somebody challenges you that this can't happen, then it becomes something that you have to prove your point, because they don't understand the kind how strong headed you are, and what kind of the background you are coming from, and what kind of struggles you have seen. So
Hmm.
these things doesn't look big to you. So it was a big challenge for me with my accommodation, because I was never used to stay in that, sharing the room with someone. It was like a paying guest accommodation. It was a
Right.
big challenge for me food wise, because I couldn't get the proper food, right? You can't
Hmm.
get home made food for you.
Right.
When you are traveling, you're using public transports. All these are the initial challenges, and if you can sustain these challenges, they teach you in a big way that you need to be really understand. You need to be grounded, and you really need to appreciate the people. When you look at them, don't look down upon anyone. It is, time changes for everyone, and these are the struggles which gives you an experience and lessons of life. with every struggle, with every failure, with every challenge that you face, to survive in your initial days are the lessons you should never forget in your life.
Right,
But
right.
they are the foundation on which your success is built.
Absolutely. Okay, since Siddharth, we're talking about failures and all these struggleful times, why don't you enlighten me with one of the biggest failures or struggles that you have faced and which taught you a huge lesson?
Oh, biggest failure.
Yes.
Okay. So I think it was when I was telling you about one of the industry segments, what I started doing in 2004 until 2006 and 7. And when suddenly I could see that, suddenly there was zero business with that customer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I realized that was a big lesson for me that you can't uh, put all your eggs in one basket. And
Okay.
you, yes, because if you rely on just one of your customer, or let it be very big company, you can never, you never know when business stops and you don't have anything to do another day. You need
Right.
to spread your risk, you need to spread your business over various segments and verticals for it to grow. And if you want growth, that's how I picked up, and that was a lesson I learned in during that time. That because 3 years were really really good for me, and I was doing all of that. But I was lucky enough that I have always developed, because I get that gut feeling. You can say that the
Mm-hmm.
moment when I say that I get an urge that I want to do more, I start getting an urge, feeling that there is something which is not right or which won't last for long. So
Mm-hmm.
I keep the alternate business plan, and I always keep that business in a moving situation where revenue starts flowing from the second business or the second stream or the second segment. You know,
Right.
so you are not, and that have saved me. That was a failure for sure. Whereas, but I won't say it was a failure. These are just the setbacks that come across. So
Mm-hmm.
after that time, I've realized now, when way back that time, I used to get really paranoid with these situation, and I used to get really stressed out. But today, from, if you talk about last 15, 17 years back or 10 years back, I really used to get stressed out. But now I'm much more, I think I have matured myself, and by seeing, because one of the persons I really appreciated or was on a very senior position, and once told me that you should not react and wait for the final outcome, before
Mm-hmm.
you react. So that was one
Right.
of the learnings that have helped me, that I got completely stress free with the situation. No matter what the situation is, I will not take it, and I know that maybe today it is dark, tomorrow is sunlight, and tomorrow is another day, and things will change for better.
Okay. 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 That's absolutely right. So I can, on this note, I would like to mention that this is also what many people call as the difference between reaction and response. So you don't have to
Right,
react to a situation, you have to respond to a situation. And to
right,
respond to a situation, you need to wait for the results to come out.
right,
Right.
exactly.
So that's what you have built. Okay. And since we're talking about, reaction and response, so that on this note I would want to know that now that you have achieved and you have literally traveled your journey from 50,000, the very initial amount, to a 500 crore business. Okay, how does it feel now that if you think that I have to start a new business, what is that feeling now? That does it really feel okay, I have to start something from scratch? Does it feel a bit stressful? Is it again a challenge? Is it a 0 to 1
No,
height?
it's the same
What is
kind
it?
of feeling. No matter what you do or what heights you achieve or what turnovers you do, these all are irrelevant. And when your dreams are much much bigger than what you are today, so definitely. And for me, all these things are because, as I told you in the beginning, that my journey has just begun. And I, for every new opportunity I try, and it is the same feeling that I'm building it up from scratch, and I have to give that kind of energy in building up the company, what I want to do and what I see with my vision, where I want to go. So it is
Hmm.
that kind of nervousness which is there. It is that kind of feeling which is there. But yes, there is a certain sense of security which lies that you have certain you know, avenues which are performing well for your company in your group companies. So you can still take chances of building up another one from scratch, like how I have taken risk. And if at that point of time when I was doing and I started, in a couple of years I started diversifying. So same way
Hmm.
I am still get that I get jittery, I get nervous. But again, it's a great feeling because it gives you that, you know, that feeling back of those times when you started your initial primary business.
Right, 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 right. That's very understandable. And guys, this is where I would say many entrepreneurs say that it's all about the gut. No matter what book says, sometimes no matter what the number says, it's about the gut. So you just have to feel right inside you and you go for it. Okay, so this is that coming back to the Bombay part, right? When you started everything and you started going about it, and the textile was there, and then the real estate business was there, and you tried your hands on the diamond stuff, right? I want you to tell me more about how did you do the market research then that you really felt that okay, now I can actually jump into this and give my 100% to it.
So I'll tell you, there is nothing called as market research.
Okay,
Okay, this is something which is MBA term which you're using with doing market research and all that. Because all those figures and numbers just on paper, it is just about you have to understand what you are willing to sell. I can tell
right,
you something. You can, if you are a good marketer, you can even sell sand. Okay,
right,
it has a market. It definitely has a market. Okay,
right,
it is anything and everything that you can see, that you can feel, can be sold. But it
right.
is, you need to understand how convinced you are to convince others. That's about it. There is no market research can give you a plan. There are people who buy those market research, does market research, market reports and segments, and they say, okay, these are the numbers, and on based on this, I'll do the business. But maybe for them, I have seen people doing business on that, and they have just opened and shut down a couple of years because that
Hmm.
was just based on paper. You need to actually see in practicality. You need to find out the real facts about wherever you want to go. If you select anything, you want to enter into any stream, go and find out in real time as to what those existing businesses are doing. What is the need? If you are trying to sell something, if market research would be available for something, if you are trying to sell something which everyone else is selling, right?
Hmm.
So it is very
Hmm.
easy thing to do that kind of business. But what I have always believed, I have gone into businesses which others are not doing, which are niche markets and niche materials, because it is
Right,
something we've heard. If one sheep, in India, people have got this sheep thing, that if
right,
one sheep is going in the well, other 10 sheep automatically follows the one sheep who is leading in front, right? So
right.
if you follow and if you see other people doing that business, this looks very good, you should not be doing that what everyone else is doing. If you really want to make a difference, do something which no one else is doing. Give people value, give people solution. In maybe, you can offer the same thing, but you need to understand what value addition you can do, what kind of value they will get out of it, and how you stand differently from others. Then your business, there is no looking back.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's again a value addition point, guys. Once those of you who have been following me, whenever I talk to any entrepreneur, most of them talk about the very same stuff. It's all about value addition. आप कुछ भी बिजनेस करो, फर्क नहीं पड़ता। हमेशा बात आएगी सामने वाले को क्या वैल्यू मिल रही है। अगर आप उसको एक में 10 वैल्यू दोगे, वो आपके साथ बिजनेस करेगा। It's as simple. It's all about value. So go for the values. Now, Siddharth, there's some intriguing stuff that I would want to learn from you. Okay, you've mentioned that these businesses have started and from real estate, and your textile business has always been on the paddle for you, right? So I want you to enlighten me about how you've developed your management. How have you developed your teams in the companies that keep the companies running for you while you're trying to explore new businesses and come up with something new. So tell me more about that management mentality, that team building mentality.
So I have, over the period of time, I have a couple of people who are, you can say, whom I trust completely, and
Okay.
who are there, whenever I want to explore on the new opportunities, they are there to take care of it, to
Mm-hmm.
run business, only to manage day-to-day affairs. So this is over the period of time I have built up a team which is not just based in my office, but they are based at several locations
Okay.
who are working for me, and they act as a support system for me, and whom I can trust, blindly in different geographical boundaries, locations they are situated, from China to Turkey to other countries. I have people who are sitting and who are like, who are like my, you can say, if I would have had some real brother, they would have been like that. I am being so closely knit with them. I trust them blindly, and I have given them free hand. And whatever the feedback I get from them or the ideas, they come back to me, because I always listen to idea what my team has, because I tell them that don't do what I tell you to do. You come up with your ideas and you tell me that this is how we should do, and you are free to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
this is how you build team. This is how you build confidence in your team, and you have people who are staying with you for long, and this works.
Right. Right. Okay. So that's how you take care of the team building. That's great. And if I have to ask you, from where did you pick this up? This full idea of building team. How did you really learn this, and how did your mentality grow around that part? What would you tell me?
So actually, I have not gone to any school or university to learn this.
Yes.
As I have not learned business, right? It is
Right.
something that you adapt by seeing, observing that how things work. There are no certain rules or protocols that needs to be followed. I don't agree on that, that there are protocols and certain rules and the HR requirements are this and that. This is how you read, how your judgment about people is.
Hmm.
So the finer your judgment is about people, and if you can read people, if you can understand the strength, what they have got, okay, and how they can contribute, then I don't think there any protocols or anything is required. It is just your understanding of strength of others. This is what I would
Okay.
say.
Okay. Now, Siddharth, I want, on this, since we're talking about team building and the mentality, I want you to enlighten me about your mindset of, how you've developed your, grown or developed your revenue from the initial stages of the textile business with probably one or two employees to the massive companies and the group that you
Yeah,
have.
I'll tell you. So see, the number of people doesn't justify the scale of business what you're doing. Okay,
Okay.
that is the first thing. Every business, there are businesses which are, which require many number of people to operate. So I'll give you one example. I was visiting uh, one of the companies in, I think in Nordic countries. I was visiting one of a very big plant. They had revenues close to, you can say, $3 billion,
My God.
and
Okay.
uh, I was just talking to them and I asked them, what kind of marketing team do you have? And you would be amazed how many people were managing that operation. Can you just guess and tell me
Uh,
people who are doing like $3 billion of sales?
probably
How many marketing people they will
Probably one or two by guessing by the way you're telling me.
have? It was just three people managing $3 billion sales.
Oh my God.
Marketing team. I mean marketing team, because they understand. In India you have, you don't value people. You
Hmm.
have to understand, because you think you get them at a very reasonable salary levels. That's why you want to, for one work you want to have 10 people doing the same thing. But I
Right.
believe you need to have very very lean structure. If you want to succeed, you really need, your number of people can't convey how successful you are. Even a grocery store is having employing 20 people, but their revenues are nothing in front of people who are doing hundreds of crore business. There are two people who are doing hundreds of crore business. So that will never justify, the number of strength of the people, but it is how effective your team is, how systematic your processes are, and
Hmm.
what is the understanding of that structure and the hierarchy. If the more complicated the hierarchy is, it is very difficult, and it will just complicate. You have more number of people doing the same thing, but you can hire that, smart people. Instead of hiring 10 people, hire one people equivalent to 10 people salary, but hire that one smart people and just make them work, and that will do wonders.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, this is another insight. Like when you're making things happen, look at the people. I mean, I would love to quote something from Musk. Not exactly quote, but if you would have read Musk's story, you would know
Yeah,
that he has got such high levels of scrutinization that happens before he takes up any hire, and most of the times he's personally interviewing them for the final round. That is the kind of
right.
conviction and kind of hiring process that those employees go through that work with Musk, and they are literally scared when they get into the office for an interview with Musk. That's the kind of stuff. So I would just say that hire the best. If whatever is in your capacity, be it a salary for one person or in one intern, just hire the best of best. So that's all I would say on that note.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Siddharth,
You need smart people.
yes, please continue. Tell me.
No, no, please go ahead.
Okay, so Siddharth, on this part, since we're talking about huge revenues and everything, and you also mentioned that you have picked up from your grandfather the art of giving back, right? The necessity of giving back to the
Right.
society, and how it you say, what goes around comes around, and how it really happens in the real life. So, what is that you are doing as a company, right? Which is helping people out there. What? Tell me more about your
You
CSR activities and everything.
CSR. Okay, so in CSR, in fact, because I was very inclined, towards the CSR thing, seeing because of my upbringing, because of my grandfather and great grandfather and my dad, everyone was generous enough, and they always thought of, giving back and doing something bigger for the society, and giving them more permanent solution. Okay,
Hmm.
doing so, we are working on different setup where we are giving funds to the people, the NGOs and the social workers who are working in the education segment, who are working in the uh, skill, what do you call it, skill resource providing centers. So we are putting our money in those. We have, what my understanding is, if you see, yeah, I will just give you an example of a person Jewish person in Canada,
Right.
and he had $100,000 in his account,
Okay.
and out of those $100,000, and there was a need which came from the people from their community, that they need funds urgently to support some families and all of that, and they said, okay, I can donate my $50,000 from my account to you. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter whether I need this money with me, but I think for a bigger cause, I am ready to do that. And that person gave away that $50,000 out of $100,000.
Okay.
And it was a big challenge, right? If you have 100 rupees, can you give 50 rupees out of that just for somebody who really needs it?
Right.
It is. is a tough task, right?
Right.
So that person did it, and that was I was just reading about him, and I have interacted with him a couple of times,
Okay.
and what he tells me that the way it works is that whenever you are giving, when you are helping people without any expectation, you are just doing it purely because you want to do it. It is coming from your heart, okay? Because it is not something you will be able to do till if till the time you are really in for it. You really feel uh, the pain of other people,
Right.
right? So when you feel that pain, when you can feel the pain, and when you have that urge of doing something better for others, you will be able to do something genuinely. And then when you do that thing genuinely, it come back multiple times. And I could say whatever small I could do, I would not like to talk about what I have done or whatever, during lockdown or under my grandfather's charitable trust, what I have formed. We did it for thousands of people, but it was something out of without any expectation of you know for the mere need of people at that point of time. That really, when I saw people in pain, when I saw people struggling just to get food, just to get shelter, to get anything, it was such a pain. They were literally on roads without anything, with starvation, with hunger, with nothing with them. And it that pain I could feel.
Okay.
So it was something, I have always thought that that was not something I would like to do as a CSR, but that was something, was the need for that time. But again, we are getting into education sectors, where we would be planning to skill people,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are planning to tie up with educational institute to open skill centers across India. That's what the plan is.
Okay.
So these are certain, things. But CSR definitely is one of the agenda, because we have certain percentage of our profits every year that is always going for these purposes, and we would invest for the betterment of society for sure.
Okay. I get it. Now, Siddharth, tell me about your biggest fear.
Fear. My
Yes.
biggest fear is just losing any of your loved ones. For me, nothing else matters. For me, I feel the pain if any of my family member is in pain. I can whether they are staying close to me. And when I say family, it is like, for me it is all that people, those who call it distant relatives, there's that. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, family is the people I have grown up with, and I have connected with, and who have
Mm-hmm.
been around during my growing up years, but still matters to me no matter in which part of the world they are in. But still, I can feel if they are in pain, sitting here, I can feel that pain. It is that kind of connection.
Wow. Okay. 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 I get it. So,
So
Siddharth,
people call you emotional fool, but it's okay to be an emotional fool and be human. You know.
okay.
Not use people. What I will tell you something.
Yes.
I As many people, I see them talking that they want to have uh, they build up contacts, or they want to talk to someone, or they want to have relationship. They maintain relationship with an agenda, or they think that they can use them when they want, but they are
Right.
forgetting you can never use them. And if you think you can use them, you're making the biggest mistake, because people, you will never be able to last with your relationship. When you go with agenda, and when you think you can use people, when you go with the pure heart, and when you don't have any agenda, okay, that's how you can make relationship which will last lifelong, whether it's in business, whether it's personal life, or whatever, your family, whatever. It has to be without any agenda and without any purpose.
Okay. So, Siddharth, as we are talking about the purity of relationships and how you really connect with people, and that, I can really feel that you are a people's person, number one. And for you, people matter a lot, because since the very beginning, since when you started the story, you were 13, you've been contacting people. You've mentioned tons of times that irrespective if you have a business with a person or not, you have connected with them, you have maintained some relationship with them, and you talk to them continuously. So I really want to dive into your mindset and know from it that how do you believe and how has actually your mindset developed after talking to so many people like CXOs, laborers, and everyone? And how do you think that talking to all these people, even newbies, by newbies I mean people you don't know, really helps in business and the importance of it?
So I feel when you interact with people, this is how you need to have an open mind. And when you talk to people, you don't need to have your own judgments about them, and you know how you consider them, because from every person there is something, some learning you can always have. What I believe,
Hmm.
that whenever, no matter whether you are meeting a watchman of a building, whether you're meeting driver, whether you're meeting a politician, a bureaucrat, a CEO of a company, CFO, a millionaire, billionaire, or a person who's running a grocery store. Because
Hmm.
everyone has, as I told you, that there is always a story behind, every person. Every person has a story to tell you, right? And
Right.
everyone has experiences in life. And there are experiences, what I have realized, that what I started with, and as a
Right.
child, when I came across people, I understood that there is, when you observe people and you try to learn, what good things they have, what are the things, what you are not aware there, because you can't be aware of everything in life, right? What is happening there,
Hmm.
diversified people, diversified mindsets. Everyone is having a different mindset. Everyone is having a different perspective, right? So
Hmm.
when you meet people, you get a different perspective. What I mean from that is, what I realize, that when I interact with people, I have traveled widely across the world. I have
Hmm.
contacts, maybe close to 40, 50 countries or more. What I've traveled, I have contacts there. I maintain, I interact with them. I have gone travel there. I've seen, how things work. What is their mindset? How they look at things. How they look at problems.
Hmm.
So with all these things, there is a learning. What you get, your horizon of looking at things becomes broader. You don't look at, as I told you, with a a smaller lens. You look at a bigger picture. You look at things with the broader perspective. That's how
Hmm.
it is. It is an inclusive approach. What you say, when you look at things with a broader perspective, because that helps you. Because I'll tell you with my experience, and actually the be interacting with people worldwide, globally, has given me a wider perspective about looking at things. Maybe my
Okay.
perspective was not that broadened that time when I started, but over the years, after meeting so many people and looking at them, the way they approach at any given situation, at any given problem, or how they would think in a certain situation to come out of it, or how they would look at a solution, you know, for to solve any problem, it really helps you when you look at them. So I feel
Right.
this is very, very important, that no matter whom you meet, whatever the position, what their social status is all about, but you should always, always, always try to respect them and try to learn something out of them, without thinking that you are somebody and they are nobody, because it, everyone is somebody. You can't say that they are nobody; they are somebody in their lives and for their people.
Hmm.
So it is always, there is a learning thing from everyone, even from child. So when I see, when I people used to talk, so I used to feel what you can learn from a child. So when my kids were growing up, I got, my patience level was really very, very low that point of time.
Hmm.
and I was always very impatient person. But what I realized, when I used to spend time with them, and they would ask me same question multiple times, and they would ask me certain things, same thing they will keep asking me. That has got me to understand that you need to learn patience. The way they, if you give them certain toy to play, right, they will try to make certain things, so they'll try to solve certain puzzle, but they are not giving up till the time they make it happen, right? So
Right.
this is how our mindset becomes if you don't give up. So this is from the very beginning in life. If you don't give up, and if you try to, what example I gave you in our conversation some time back about the person hitting the stone, right? So
Right.
this is the mindset that you get from childhood. When you don't give up, when you try to do things, till the time it is not done, you are not giving up. Okay, if you have seen, I don't know if you have seen, there are many videos like that, motivational videos, which where you can see a
Mm-hmm.
child, or you must have seen, a kid in your family doing that, small kid trying to climb up a chair, or trying to climb up
Mm-hmm.
something which is way higher than their height, right? But they still don't give up till the time they climb on top of that, or they try to do achieve something out of that. So these all are learning experiences that you gain even from child. You can learn so many things, right?
Right.
So it is to do with, I feel, the more you interact with people, the more you travel, you interact, you observe, you learn a whole lot of things, and that gives you a broader perspective, and that
Mm-hmm.
gives you even broader perspective in your professional life or business life, whatever you are doing. It definitely helps you in becoming a more and more mature person in your approach towards looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. Right. Okay. Now I want to know that, Siddharth, how does your family feel about you? What do they tell you that you came to Bombay with something else, now you are something else, and you've just added to the family's business? Not that you've taken something, you've added more to it. So how do they feel about it?
So, in fact, my family members, if I talk about a joint family, what it consists of, maybe 400, 450 people around the world.
Yeah.
For 400,
What,
four
seriously?
hundred fifty around the world, who are, I mean, for me, my joint family, what I'm talking about is those many people, because my granddad's brother, their kids, their children, their kids, all of that, and they are spread around the world. And you feel good because they know from where you started. They know,
Mm-hmm.
they have seen your struggle days. They won't exactly know how you have struggled, but they have seen from where you started, right?
Right.
They are the people who have seen you from childhood. They have, even many of them have, you know have complimented me in my childhood when I was doing certain things, and when they saw, and they came and told me, no, you have got this potential, and we are really happy that you're doing something for this. And it really feels good, when people in your family. But I always feel when your family tells you it is not your real success, when people talk about you, that's your real success. So I'm like, just to tell you, I'm very antisocial. Not antisocial in the meaning, I'm not on any of the social networking sites, from Facebook, Twitter to Insta. On any of these sites I don't use, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel this is something, uh, because I'm more of a private person, and I would not like to, what I'm doing on day to day basis, I would not like to share it with everyone, with the people whom I don't know. Or it is sometimes that conveys like that you are trying to boast, or you are trying to portray some picture which is not the real story, right? Because picture
Mm-hmm.
not always tell you the real story. It is
Right.
to do with, trying to boast, or trying to do where you have gone, what you have done, what you have achieved, all of that. I feel,
Right.
for me, if my success any day has to be, if I become the success in my terminologies, what I believe my success would be, then it would be people writing about it is actually acknowledged without letting them know, and they come and ask you, and they tell you that yes, this is how you have achieved this. That would be the real success.
Okay. 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 That's great again. Yeah. I mean, I really respect the mindset, and somewhere I relate a lot to you because I come from similar schools of mindset. So I relate a lot on these aspects that you talk about. Okay. Now, Siddharth, we are almost approaching towards the end. My question bank that I could think of from your journey is coming down. Okay. But then before we wrap it up, right, I want you to individually pick up all the businesses that you mentioned. Okay. From your philately to the packaged oil to the try hands-on on to diamonds to this business of real estate to the textile to the current business of foundry and all the
Steel,
aluminum
steel,
elements and all this stuff,
raw materials
right?
for the
I want
metallurgical industry. Yeah.
Yes, the metallurgy business. I want you to pick up all these businesses individually and tell me what you have learned from them individually and how they have shaped you to be the entrepreneur you are today.
Okay, so text. If I talk about my first business, philately, so that gave me a lesson of having certain set of principles and not trusting anyone blindly. And you should always be very, very cautious when you're doing business. You have to secure and don't get carried away if you get some offers, because you have to actually thoroughly vet it, thoroughly go in depth before committing anything to anyone. So that
Right.
was a learning from Palatli. Then from oil business, I have learned that if you can, create distributorship networks, if you are smart enough to create a brand name for, whatever thing you are doing, you can really scale it up. And scaling for me, business doing at scale is growth.
Okay.
Achieving sales, it is not at low, local levels. For me, if I have to think about business, it has to be something globally. It cannot be
Okay.
a local business. Doing in one territory, you should not have any territory, and that's what the lesson I have learned from that.
Okay.
And when I come into textiles. So diamond was actually, I was learning. I never did diamond business. It was
Right.
during my college days. I just wanted to learn about diamonds. So I was just learning and trying to understand whether I am passionate about that or not. So that was for me soul searching whether I want to do this business or not in future. After my college. So I got my answer
Okay.
that that's not the business meant for me. So
Mm-hmm.
moving on to the next one is the textile one. The textile has taught me hard work and the real start of my real life business, what I have done. So which has taught me great lessons of how hard work really pays you, and you have to struggle, and no matter what obstacles are, you have to just keep moving on, you know.
Okay.
And then we come to real estate one. So it was mall management and brand leasing. So that has taught me lesson of networking, how important networking is and how value addition when you do, and how it you can stand out when you offer them something which no one else is offering. That's how you
Right.
stand out and you create a niche market, and niche market for yourself, and you create value.
Right.
And when we talk about steel, it has taught me a whole lot of things. It has taught me what scale is all about, what volumes are all about, what turnovers are all about, what being global is all about.
Okay.
Yeah, so all these, when I talk about steel, it's all steel, aluminium plants, steel plants, foundries, or paint industries, tire industries, with all these big corporates. There's a great learning that how the management is very important for growth, and how you have to, because when you're running these kind of plants, right, and the kind of requirements what they have, all these are very massive, right? and
Mm-hmm.
it's on massive scale. So you have
Right.
to really organize yourself really well to be successful and to remain in the market, and you have to adapt to the change really fast, and you have to keep learning about new things, about new value additions that you can offer to them, and being global. That is, that there is no boundary for anything you want to sell. There are no boundaries. So this is what this business has taught me, and this is forming my mindset of, of my thought process, which is already there, that there are no boundaries which exist when you're doing business. You can do business in any part of the world. And Corona has definitely made people aware of this fact, that going online and doing, online business, so boundaries are definitely no more there. But still, you need to have that mindset and thought process to move forward, whatever you are doing.
Right. 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 Okay. So on this note, that right, since as you mentioned right now that you have got, to quote it this way, you've got the mindset of abundance from your steel and metallurgy business, right?
Yeah.
And of going global and existing everywhere and everything, and the journey that you have had from 50,000 rupees to the sales turnover of 500 crores, to such big things. I want to know, what are your company's investment plans? What are your personal investment plans now? How are you really managing uh, your company's wealth and your personal wealth? How do you go about it?
I'm good at managing businesses. I'm not very pro at managing personal wealth. So
Okay.
I'm a spendthrift. If you see, it's, if I talk about myself, I'm too aggressive in my
Okay.
approach for business. I'm very, very aggressive, and for me, is something that gives me a kick is, working. So even uh, when I'm traveling, or where, time zone differences are there, I have to work, because that's what makes me feel complete. If if any day I'm not working, I feel that it's something, I'm incomplete. I'm not doing something. What do you call it? Something productive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And how are you gonna, like, what are the investment plans that you're looking forward with your?
No, so now we are, as I told you, for our growth plans, what we are planning
Right.
to add on a couple of more businesses, and one, the two main focus areas is renewable energy, because
Renewable
that
energy.
is, the world is looking at renewable energy because of carbon emissions, because of global warmings, and there are so many factors. So this is the next big thing for the world, and there is a great growth perspective in that. So that is definitely there, and I'm working on that for a couple of years. Now we are in the stage of launching couple of products and couple of markets that we are working on. Some
Hmm.
prototypes have come, so we'll be launching that in renewable energy sector. Then we are working towards innovative product segment, where innovations around the world. We are working with couple of companies around the world who are offering, who have done innovation, and who are coming up with innovative product which has come out of the development stage. So now we would be taking them to the market. So we are under discussion stage, and we'll be working on that soon.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that's how, well, guys. Siddharth is looking forward to his, expansions and investments further. I'm sure that he has got many other investments already in place, right? Where insurances would be there, or let me guess, real estate, Siddharth?
I would not like to comment on any of that. I'm not bothered about personal wealth. What matters to me is the name, the brand, what I built for my company, and
That's
how
the
it is
thing. That's.
recognized globally. This is what
Mhm.
I'm working on. And maybe there would be a day that, as I told you, I would not like to talk about it myself, but there would be time that some figures would come out when people automatically we go public, and our company get listed. So maybe
Oh, that's the
that
thing.
day
Yeah.
everything would be in public.
That's absolutely understandable. So, guys, this is again a good thing I would say about Siddharth, right? Keeping some things private, but yes, with all due respect for people like Siddharth, and since I relate to him a lot, I know, and somewhere this is something that I also do personally. Uh, at the end, the company matters. What we're doing with work matters. Just like Siddharth, if I don't work a day in my life, I feel incomplete. So yes, the growth of the company is hands on for us. So, with that said, Siddharth, we're definitely at the end of the podcast, and I don't think so there's much left that I would want to ask you. Right. So, Siddharth, if you have to give out a business mantra to my listeners, what would that be?
Okay, that would be you either do what everyone else is doing and you do it better, or you do what no one else is doing and you don't invite comparison.
Wow. That's quite crisp, short, and bang on. So that's a that's a lovely mantra that I would say you've given out. But yes, that's again a great thing, guys, to think about it, ponder over it, and believe me, that's one of the biggest mantras. I talk to a lot of business people, and many of them say the same thing. साथ अगर हम कुछ business में late हो गए हैं या फिर इन्होंने जिन्होंने time से entry मार ली उनका चल गया है अब आज घुसना is like बहुत competition है. It's difficult to nail that competition. So yes, what he's saying is absolutely understandable for me at least. But you guys need to think about it if you really want to trying to get into the race.
You
With
need
that
to
said, Siddharth,
or you need to
yes,
have this for your listeners that all good ideas start as bad ideas. That's why it takes so long. Okay. And
yes,
another one just for you, and that's very close to me. I don't
yes.
make right decisions. I take decisions and then make them right.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, even I follow this one. It's huge, huge saying by Ratan Tata. I guess you were also a
Absolutely.
huge fan of Ratan
This is
Tata,
one
right?
of my favorite one, and I truly believe in this.
Yes, even I believe in this, guys. Very closely, I believe in this. So, yes. Thank you so much, Siddharth. With that said, yes, thank you so much, Siddharth. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure talking to you,
Like,
learning from your journey, and you've given me some really amazing goals, I would say, some numbers that I really look forward to in my sales. God, please help me.
thanks for having me. I appreciate that. But you had that patience of, because I went on and on and on. I don't know, and but that's fine. That's how I am. Once I start, it's it just I just speak whatever comes to my heart. So it's
That's
all
that's that
coming from
that's
my
the
heart.
beauty about the podcast. And that's why I love having people on the show. And thank you so much for coming and speaking your heart out. I really look forward to meeting you soon once I'm in Bombay, or if you come to Delhi, do let me know.
Oh,
I would
looking
love to
forward.
see you. Okay. Thank you so much, Adal. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Yeah, I
I hope that you're able to take back something insightful from this podcast and apply it in your life to be a better version of yourself and add to your Dhandho Ni Soch. If you know someone whom you think should feature on my podcast and has a very inspiring entrepreneurial journey, then do drop me a DM on my Instagram, SarthakVarshny. Sarthak Varshney. Yeah, that's me. I'm the founder of SV Clicks, and SV Clicks is the producer of this show. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn as well with the same name. If you're willing to listen to more of such unheard, inspiring stories of the entrepreneurs, then don't forget to follow us by pressing that follow button on your podcast screen. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Keep learning, keep growing. We'll be back soon. See ya.